The real question you should be asking, if you are somebody who has weight to lose and you've been on your fitness journey, struggling, and um, you haven't been seeing the results you want, or constantly are on this kind of yo-yo dieting trend where you gain weight, lose weight, and so on, you need to be asking the question, what should I do the other 364 days of the year? Not what should I do on Thanksgiving Day, on one day. All right, we should be live and recording. Let me just double check, make sure microphone is working, everything's set up. Got my handy dandy laptop right here with some notes for this video, for this live, and then got my monitor here so I can see what I'm doing. And I got, of course, Coke Zero, caffeine free. I've been trying to keep my caffeine a little bit lower lately, so going for the caffeine free version. And yeah, it's still super tasty. So hope you guys are having a great day. So obviously, big elephant in the room, Thanksgiving is coming up. So around this time of year, I always get a lot of questions from non-clients, from just people in the DMs, and then also obviously from clients as far as how to navigate Thanksgiving so you don't ruin your progress and, don't gain a bunch of body weight that then you have to lose come New Year's. So I've had this conversation for so many years with people. I mean, I have been religiously posting nutrition content, weight loss content since about like 2014 on social media, over 10 years, over a decade, and have been coaching in some capacity, one-on-one coaching, since about 2017. Almost 10 years there, about 8 or 9 years coming up. And I've always gotten this question. And my approach to this question has changed a decent amount as the years have gone on. It's kind of slowly shifted. And I think when I was first starting off as a coach, I was one of those who someone would ask, okay, what are some tips for Thanksgiving? And I would always be like, okay, like here are five helpful things that you can do so you don't sabotage your progress on Thanksgiving, right? The stereotypical posts you probably are seeing a lot of or are going to see a lot of on social media within the next week. But as time has gone on, my approach and thought process when it comes to Thanksgiving has changed quite a bit. Where instead of giving a bullet point list of these tips, like I kind of think it's a little bit just useless to even stress about it. And I've kind of like had this like initial reaction when I'm asked this question, which is, why does this one day mean so much to you? Not so much to you as far as you wanting to overeat or me wanting to overeat, but why do you feel like it means so much in terms of your overall progress? The real question you should be asking, if you are somebody who has weight to lose and you've been on your fitness journey, struggling, and um, you haven't been seeing the results you want, or constantly are on this kind of yo-yo dieting trend where you gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, and so on, you need to be asking the question, what should I do the other 364 days of the year? Not what should I do on Thanksgiving Day, on one day. Because just like we know, one day of being perfect with your diet is not going to automatically get you to lose 40 pounds, 30 pounds, 20 pounds, give you a six pack, whatever. One day of overeating and stuffing yourself is also not going to make you gain 10 pounds of body fat, 20 pounds of body fat, 30 pounds of body fat. It is not going to sabotage all of your progress if you are consistent those other days of the year. So my short knee jerk reaction is like, just do whatever you want. Like Thanksgiving Day isn't that important when it comes to your overall progress long term with weight loss and fat loss. What happens is what you're doing on the boring Monday or the boring Tuesday or the regular Wednesday when your coworkers bring pizza in and you have a calorie goal to hit, but now you're overeating on your calories on Wednesday, when Tuesday you had a birthday celebration for your kid and you got Mexican and then you got a couple of margaritas. And then on Monday, you were just feeling really hungry and snacky after your dinner. So you had multiple servings of chips and you didn't really account for those. Those are the things that matter more than just one day that's a holiday that's supposed to be filled with really good food and just really good times with friends and family. I know like that's not super helpful to just be like, oh, it doesn't matter what you do on Thanksgiving, but it really truly doesn't matter if those other days are in line. Now, let's like get a little bit of objective though, right? Because this is my take on it. This is kind of my opinion. It's like, it doesn't really matter what you do for Thanksgiving. Like what matters is what you're doing the other days of the year. Sorry, I had my volume on my computer. But let's dive into the science, right? Because the science might help you to understand this a little bit too, because you're like, Joey, every time I overeat on Thanksgiving, I gain like 5 pounds on the scale the next day and it doesn't seem to go away. But let's dive into the science of how much body fat can you actually really gain if you overdo it on Thanksgiving. And when you look at the numbers, right? Let's say you eat 4,000 calories on Thanksgiving Day, which is a lot of calories. Like I have to purposely try to hit 4,000 and be pretty uncomfortably full if I'm going to hit 4,000. Now, I know it's a little bit easier to hit that high number with like some of the pies that are made with the desserts and cookies and alcohol when you throw that into the mix. But I would say most people probably aren't going too much over 4,000, especially if they're approaching Thanksgiving. Like if you're somebody asking this question and you're approaching it trying to be mindful, you're probably not going to go over 4,000 calories. Now, let's say you eat 4,000 calories in a day and your body routinely burns, let's say 2,000 on average. And I would say most people actually burn probably closer to like 2,500. Obviously, it depends on your body size, how much muscle you have, how active you are, this and that. But let's say on average 2,000, just to be, I think that's a good average, to say for most people. Well, if you eat 4,000 calories in a day, but your body burns 2,000, that is going to be a roughly 2,000 calorie excess for that day. When we think about how many pounds of body fat you will gain from that, it takes roughly 3,500 extra calories to gain 1 pound of fat. So 2,000 calories extra will be about 0.57 pounds of fat you might gain on that day. Now, it's going to be likely less than this, actually, for a couple of reasons. One is a lot of those extra carbs you eat are going to be stored as glycogen, which is like the storage form of carbohydrate in your muscle. So they're not actually going to be stored as body fat, a lot of those extra carbs. When you overeat calories, the thermic effect of food ramps up. And the thermic effect is basically how many calories your body burns to digest and absorb the food that you are eating. So if you eat 1,000 calories, your body isn't just net gaining 1,000 calories. It's going to take maybe 10% of that, maybe 15% of that, give or take, to actually digest that. And you might actually only net a gain of 850 calories because of that digestion cost, basically. So that ramps up when you overeat on calories. Also, some of those calories will probably be used to kind of fuel recovery potentially from like a previous workout you maybe had that morning or the previous day. And then also there's this thing called NEAT. It stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That will increase too. And that is essentially all this subconscious movement that your body does that you don't even really realize. Like right now, I'm talking with my hands. This is what you would call NEAT. Like I'm not really consciously thinking about, let me try to move my hands. I'm just doing it. Blinking is another form of NEAT. Like we don't really think about how often we blink. Other people really tap their feet. Other people will like just kind of fidget around more. And those things will slow down the lower your calories get and they will speed up most people, the higher your calories get. So if you overeat by 2,000 calories a day, your NEAT is probably going to go up a pretty substantial amount to where you're going to be fidgeting a little bit more and so on. So, and it can even impact like subconsciously how you feel and things you do around the house too. Like if you're eating low calories and there's like an extra load of laundry that like needs to be done, but it doesn't necessarily have to be done. And it's all the way upstairs. You got to go up and put it in the basket. If you're eating low calories and you have low energy, you're probably not going to go and do that. But if you overeat by 2,000 calories and you're really feeling that like surge in energy from all that extra food, you're probably going to be more likely to go upstairs and grab that, thing of laundry and go down and do it. And that's like activity, but it's not really conscious activity through exercise. So those things all ramp up. So with that being said, that 0.57 pounds of body fat gained from that calculation is actually probably a little bit less. Like you might actually only gain 0.4 pounds of body fat from that. But let's just even say it is 0.57. Let's just say, almost 0.6 pounds of body fat you're gaining. In the grand scheme of things, if you have a goal to lose weight and lose body fat, to lose 0.6 pounds, to lose that weight that you gain on Thanksgiving Day, it might take you an extra half of a week of being in a fat loss phase. Or let's even say on the long end, it might take an extra full week of being in a fat loss phase, since roughly around 1 pound of body fat loss per week is a good healthy rate of fat loss for most people. And you can achieve a pretty sustainable calorie deficit in a fat loss phase to make that happen. In the grand scheme of things, if you have 20 pounds to lose, and it's going to take you 5 months to lose it sustainably so you can maintain it, it might take you 5 months and 1 week to do it if you overeat this much on Thanksgiving Day. and you're like, Joey, I don't want to push my results back, a week. What's a week when it comes to your whole lifestyle of wanting, or your whole life with wanting to lose this weight and lose it for good and maintain it for life? Because the reality is like once you reach your goal weight, there's probably going to be some fluctuation up and down. Like you're going to have some weekends where you go out of town and eat a little bit too much pizza. You're going to have some vacations where you take advantage of the all-inclusive resort, the drinks, the desserts, all that, and you gain a few pounds and you have to lose it back. So even once you reach your goal weight, you're never going to maintain it forever, all of it. Obviously, the goal is to maintain as much of it as possible so you don't have to go into future fat loss phases as often, right? But there's going to be a few pounds of fluctuation here and there anyway. So like, why are you rushing it? Like you should not have any reason to have that strict of a deadline to where if your goals get pushed back by 1 week, you are completely unhappy. Unless you are competing in like a bodybuilding show and literally 1 pound of fat can make the difference between you getting first place in the show and fifth or something like that. But if you're listening to this, you're probably not competing in a bodybuilding show because that's just not my audience. That's not who I work with and all this. So you should not have that strict of a deadline to where your goal is being pushed back by 1 week in the grand overarching like scheme of your life is going to make a big difference in how happy you are. And if that's the case, if that's going to make you extremely unhappy, your goal is being pushed back by 1 week, then there's some psychological stuff and some mindset stuff we need to work through first. Because like I said, what matters the most is what you do before Thanksgiving and after, those other days of the year. Same thing goes for all these other holidays, Christmas, 4th of July, New Year's, all that. You add up all of the major holidays and all the major holidays that have like food revolved around them. They probably are actually just what, like maybe 20 days of the year. Let's even round it up. Let's say 36 days of the year are somehow with these holidays. That's just 10% of your year. 36 out of 365. If you are consistent the other 90% of the time with your goals, you will still make amazing progress year after year after year. Yeah, maybe you'll have to go into like one fat loss phase every year to lose maybe the 5 pounds you gained over all of these holidays stacked up if you go this overboard, right? But that'll be a short fat loss phase. And like most of these holidays, you won't even go this overboard. Like 4,000 calories every time there's a holiday. Most people aren't doing that every time, especially if you're being this conscious. So with this being said, though, I'll give you some practical tips that are going to help you to feel better with your choices. Like I said, we're talking about a 0.6 pound gain of body fat for most people at the most. So we're not like ruining everything, even if we go balls to the wall and really enjoy yourself and just basically are not mindful at all. But here are some things that are going to make you feel even better. So number one, get some movement in before the festivities happen. Get a quick workout in, go for a 10-minute walk first thing in the morning. Do something that's going to get you moving. Doesn't have to be some like crazy turkey trot or something or some crazy intense workout that your gym is maybe putting on in the morning. It can be if you find that fun, right? Like I know a lot of families like to do that and that's awesome. That's great. But it can't just be a simple walk. Go for a 10, 15-minute walk first thing in the morning. Get moving, get some movement in before all the festivities, the celebrations, and everything happen. And that's going to help you to just feel, really, really good too. And if you get a workout in, some of those extra calories you might have, they're more likely to be used for recovery from that workout too. So that's a plus. Number two is don't starve yourself leading up to the Thanksgiving feast or meal. But probably, if you want to just make sure you don't overdo it too much, make your breakfast mostly protein and fruit and vegetables. So what I likely will do for my breakfast the day of Thanksgiving is I will have my normal Ninja Creamy high protein ice cream, which is essentially like a protein shake, but in ice cream form with blueberries and blackberries. High in protein, high in fiber, high in fruits. That's probably what my breakfast is going to be. That's what it is basically every morning, but I will kind of keep it at that. And that breakfast is around 400 to 500 calories for me and around like 50 to 60 grams of protein, which is a smaller-ish, meal for myself. And I will probably just have that leading into Thanksgiving, which we'll probably end up eating around like 2-ish. So like I'm not going to have the biggest breakfast the day before or the day of, but I'm not going to restrict myself and not eat at all and try to fast until 2 p.m. and then just completely annihilate everything. I'm not going to do that. So emphasize protein and fruits and vegetables. This could also look like an egg white omelet with some veggies in it, with some fruit on the side. That would be a great option too. But emphasize protein and fruits and veggies. Maybe keep the fats and the carbs a little bit lower for this breakfast just because a lot of the food at Thanksgiving, the stuffing, the cheesy potatoes, the desserts are going to be really high in fat and carbs. And that's a good way to kind of balance it out for the day. Third tip is remember that turkey is really low in calories, assuming it's not like deep fried, and it's very high in protein. So, like, that can be a big staple protein source for your meal that you eat first before everything else to help to fill you up. So, don't skimp on the protein, don't skip on the turkey. Like, super low in calories, high in protein, it's going to keep you full. Eat that first and then move on to everything else. Fourth tip is especially if you're, a client and you've been tracking your food, or maybe you're not a client, but you've tracked your food, use prior knowledge of just like how many calories are in certain things. If you've been logging your food for a long time, I'm sure at some point you've logged some kind of like mashed potato or cheesy potato. I'm sure you've logged some kind of turkey before. I'm sure you've logged like some kind of pie. Maybe it wasn't pumpkin pie, but it's some other kind of pie to see what the calories were. You have this bank of resources and knowledge in your head of, okay, like I logged this pumpkin pie or apple pie my grandma made or my mom made, a few months ago. And it was like 500 calories for like this size slice. So this size slice is probably pretty hefty in calories. Maybe I'll go for like half a slice because I want to have like a small cookie too or something. Or I've logged chocolate chip cookies before and they're roughly 200 calories when they're this size. Like I know these are probably 200 calories. And you just have a rough kind of pulse on how many calories are roughly in certain things. And that can help you to just, not that I want you to like mathematically calculate everything in your head before you eat it, right? It's one day. I want you to relax. I want you to have fun. But even just subconsciously kind of knowing, oh, like there's 200 calories in that cookie. Maybe I'm not going to have four of them. Maybe I'm going to have one or two. I know this slice of pie is probably like 500 calories. Maybe I'm going to have like half of it. You just have a gauge on that stuff. So use that knowledge, right? Because you have it. And even if you don't have that knowledge, even if you've never tracked your food, use the knowledge you have and the pulse you have on how full you feel when you really overeat. Because I know all of us have overeaten food, overeaten calories likely, and we know what that feels like when we really overdo it. We know when our body feels 120% full and we like need to unbutton our pants and even just like sit laying back, on your lazy boy chair feels uncomfortable because your body's still digesting all that food because it's so full and you have to like sit up and to where you're so full where if somebody were to ask you, hey, let's go like for a quick walk, you just like would want to like, I don't know, sit on the couch and not move at all. You know what that feels like. You know what it feels like when you significantly overeat. And you know what it feels like when you're full, if you slow down and think about it. And you know what it feels like when you still have some space in there and you're like, oh, like actually probably like this is a pretty low calorie meal and my body probably does need a little bit more. You have somewhat of a pulse on that. Stop when you're like 70 to 80% full. So don't go to 100% fullness. Don't go to 150%. Stop when you're like 3/4 of the way full. And if you do that to where like, hey, like I could fit more cookies in my stomach, but also I'm kind of good here, like stop there. And another good kind of gauge to use for this is if someone were to ask you to like do some jumping jacks, like would you be able to do, I don't know, 30 jumping jacks without feeling like you were going to throw up? If so, then like, hey, that's probably a good, point to stop, 70 to 80%. But if you are getting to a point where, hey, if someone asked me to do jumping jacks, like I would not be able to do 30 because I'm going to be sick to my stomach, then you probably overdid it. And maybe that number's 20 for you, but you get the gist of what I'm getting at. You know what it feels like when you really overdo it. So be mindful of that. Number 5, be present when you're eating and enjoy the company around you. A lot of times we end up overeating on calories too much because we're eating way too quickly. We're not enjoying the moment. We're not enjoying conversation with people. Slow it down, take some time, take a minute, take a few seconds, 30 seconds between bites. Put your fork down and knife and spoon and everything between bites to give your body time to start digesting that food and processing it as you're eating. And that's going to allow your body to send the satiety signals to your brain, which are the fullness signals, saying, hey, we're starting to get full. Maybe we need to stop. But if you eat so quickly, your body doesn't have enough time to process those things and send those signals to your brain to tell yourself you're full. So slow it down, enjoy every single bite, but be mindful of the pace that you're eating. And like I said, just enjoy the conversation around you. Give yourself, this kind of goes in line with eating slowly, but give yourself maybe 10 or 20 minutes after you finish your main meal at least before you go to dessert. Like if the dessert's on the table, and I know some families just will automatically kind of sit there and talk for 30 minutes before they get dessert. But if you're the type that like dessert's basically on the table to grab right after you're done with your main plate, give yourself about 20 minutes before you grab a piece of dessert to kind of have to, like with the same point, allow your body time to digest that food and feel full. Number 7 is if you're an alcohol drinker, use 0-calorie mixers or like light seltzer drinks or light beers instead of like the sugary mixers or the really, dark beers that have like a lot of alcohol per gram, which means it's going to have more calories. Those light seltzers that are like maybe 80 or 90 calories each are going to just help you to feel like you're drinking something, but it's not going to rack up as many calories. And then obviously the 0-calorie mixers, like if you're somebody like I'm a big rum and Coke guy, so I'll use Coke Zero or Diet Coke with rum to kind of keep the calories lower, because a regular Coke, if I were to have 2 rum and Cokes and I have it with regular Coke, that's going to add an extra, 300 calories to those drinks just from having regular Coke versus Coke Zero. So last thing, or not last thing, but I have some other things too. Please do not track your food in MyFitnessPal. Like, don't track your food. Just please don't. Utilize all these tips if you really want to be like on a little bit more on point with the things you're choosing and the way you're eating. But don't track your food. Use that bank of rough knowledge you have of how many calories are in certain things, which is a really good skill to utilize and to exercise. But don't pull out MyFitnessPal to log things. Also, too, realize it's okay to enjoy food more than usual on this day. It is okay to overeat a little bit on Thanksgiving. That is okay. But also remember that these foods are not off limits any other day of the year. So like pumpkin pie, this is not your one time to have pumpkin pie. You can have it a week from now. You can have it a couple of months from now. You can fit it within your diet, within your calorie and protein goals, within your nutrition plan, and still see results and still be healthy while doing so. You can eat chocolate chip cookies every day as long as you're eating them in moderation and you're fitting it within your calorie and protein ranges for your body. You can include all of these things. This is not your only day to eat these foods. So don't think, oh, this is my one day to splurge, and then come tomorrow or come Monday, like back to just chicken and broccoli for every single meal. If that's the mentality you have, you're going to overdo it, even if you don't truly want to, because you feel like, oh, this is my last chance to have this food. Realize these foods can be enjoyed literally every single day of the year. I relate to this so much when it comes to chocolate candy, because we just got done with Halloween, right? And I've had a lot of clients talk to me about how like the Halloween candy, it's really hard this time of year because their kids have candy and this and that. But it's like I was describing to them, we always have some kind of chocolate candy in the house. We have Hershey Kisses usually in the top drawer of one of our cabinets all the time, all year round. And I usually have like one piece a day, maybe 2. But because it's always there, and because I know I can have it any day, as long as I'm fitting it within my calories and protein and not having, 30 pieces a day, like I don't feel this scarcity or this like specialness around chocolate candy. I'm like, oh, like if I say no to it, or if I don't eat that much on Thanksgiving Day, that much chocolate, or if I don't eat that many cookies on Thanksgiving, I know I can always, like, if I'm craving cookies, I can always have it on a random Tuesday. Obviously, I got to fit it in, and I got to fit it within my calorie budget, my nutrition budget. So I'm still seeing progress and everything. But realize these foods can be had any day of the week, any day of the year. So they don't have to be splurged on and binged on just because it's the holiday. And then at the end of the day, whatever decision you choose, actually, I'll say this for last. Next thing is realize the weight in the scale is going to probably fluctuate up a lot more than the fat that you're actually gaining. Remember, we went through the math, and you're gaining about a half a pound or 0.6 pounds of body fat, probably at the most for most people. Even if you double that, if you have like 8,000 calories a day, you're probably only gaining like 1 pound of body fat, roughly. So it's still not even that high, even if you double that or almost double that. So remember, the weight in the scale might fluctuate up by like 3 or 4 pounds, but that is just from extra sodium causing more water retention, extra carbs causing more water retention, extra food in your stomach and your digestive system that has not been pooped out, to be frank. That is caused from, I was like, what was the last point I was going to make? That is caused also from alcohol and your body kind of having this compensatory effect where when you drink alcohol, you dehydrate yourself. And then afterwards, your body wants to like soak up extra water because it was dehydrated previously. So some of that extra weight gain on the scale is because of that too. But so much of that is just water retention that is not actual body fat. So even though the weight of the scale might come up by 3 or 4 pounds, you're not gaining 4 pounds of body fat in one day. Nobody is, unless they're eating something ridiculous like 15 to 20,000 calories in a day. So understand that. And if you don't drink too much on Thanksgiving Day, the next day is a really great day to plan a good workout. Like plan one of your heaviest workouts or one of your most challenging workouts the day after, not to burn off all these calories. That's not what we want to do. That's not the approach we want to take. That's not the mindset we want to have. But if you're eating all this extra food, especially all these extra carbs, your glycogen in your muscles are going to be really filled up, which that is basically our main fuel source for like lifting weights and high intensity exercise like that. So you're probably going to have a really great workout that next day. Your body's going to feel really pumped. Your arms are probably going to feel really strong, legs really strong, all this. You're going to be really fueled up for that workout. So taking advantage of that and have a great workout the next day, hit some PRs and feel really good. And then my last point, which I was going to make before, but I'm going to make it at the end, is whatever decision you make, just own it. If you decide to, okay, I'm going to be really mindful of my food intake. I'm going to really prioritize protein and veggies for breakfast. I'm going to follow all these tips Joey gave me. I'm going to get a workout in the morning. Excuse me. That sucks. Did not want to cough right in the microphone. But if you want to do all those things, follow all those tips, just own that decision and feel good about that. Don't like wake up the next morning or the whole day begrudgingly be like, oh no, sorry, Tim, I can't have this. Like I'm trying to, watch my calorie intake and have a negative mindset around it. Don't moan and groan about waking up and getting a walk in or a workout in when you don't feel like it. Whatever decision you do, own it. Realize you're an adult and you're making the decision to do this. And don't place blame on anybody else or feel like, oh, I have to do this because I'm overweight and this and that. Because you don't have to. Remember, I said it's one day. You don't have to. And same thing goes the opposite direction, right? If you choose to really overeat this day, have a bunch of alcohol, have a bunch of desserts, go past that fullness level that I talked to you earlier about, that everybody knows where that point is where I overdid it. Like, you know what that feels like. If you go over that, don't wake up the next morning and step on the scale and it be 3 pounds heavier, 4 pounds heavier with most of it being water retention, like I said. Don't look at that number and then start beating yourself up and regret it. You made the decision as an adult to consciously overeat and knew that, oh, like this was a possibility. So own it and step on the scale and be like, hey, scale's up. I know a lot of it is just water retention. I'm just going to have a good workout today. I'm going to get back to my normal eating routine today. And I know it's going to come back down because I know it's not all body fat gain. And approach it that way. Same thing goes for like trips you go on, vacations you go on. We are all adults and we are making the active decision to consume the things we're consuming. Nobody is shoving drinks or shoving food, literally shoving it down our throats and forcing us to eat it. Hopefully not. So you're making the decision. So own it like an adult too. And don't face it with a lot of regret and beating yourself up about it the next day. Take it into context of this is one day out of 365. Even if I eat like this, 30 times of the year, that's still 90% of the year that I can be on point, that I do have control over, that I can execute on and still see great progress. So I'm just going to move on, right? Just do it and move on. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if it was, and I will see you guys in the next one.